Lancaster Woodturners Coffee Hour number 269 for September the 4th, 2025. Did I get that right? Yeah. My name's John Kelsey. I'll be your moderator today. I'll put my email address on the video. So any of you who stumble into this on a video and like to join us, send me an email. We'll put you on the list. This is a really good topic, and I'd like to come back to it in a minute. But we are sort of obliged by our relationship with our club to do the announcements. So we're going to do that first. And I'm representing Ziegler today because Ziegler is away with a ferociously bad cold, and that has a consequence for club activities. Ziegler's the president of our club currently, and he was the point guy for doing the music festival in 9/7 when we were planning to do some turning of tops and all of that stuff out there in public. He's not going to make it. He's not going to be well enough, and it's a rain date anyway, and so that has been canceled as a club activity. However, this weekend on Saturday morning at Angelo's place over near Costco, near me, Angelo's having a sale of all of the stuff that he has squirreled away, and he never quite even cops to how many storage units he has, but I think he's kind of trying to reduce it down to maybe one. And I think that Angelo was a professional turner for a long time. He has a lot of stuff. He's been putting it out a piece at a time for a long time, and now he's putting it all out on tables to let's just have less stuff. So Saturday morning, you can get the address is in the last email from our club secretary, Tom Wenzel, which came out last week because of the club meeting. They had all the details about the Angelo's sale on Saturday morning. The next thing up for Lancaster would be open shop on 9/13. That's 2 Saturdays from now. Yeah.
Hey, John.
Yeah.
John, I understood at Tuesday night's meeting is somebody stepped up to fill John Ziegler's spot to run the music thing. I wonder if it wasn't Barry. I'm not remembering who it was because I wasn't
Yes,
going to.
this is John. It was Barry Price.
If Barry's going to do it, then it will happen. I have an email a couple of days ago from Ziegler saying not so much. So, but I didn't get it. I didn't confirm that this morning. So I'm sorry if I've confused anybody. If Barry's here, Barry, you're there? Yeah.
Yeah,
you gonna do
I'm
it?
here, and briefly I had said, yeah, I'd take the point on supporting the music fest, but then I recalled my nephew called me a few days ago. His mother, my sister-in-law, is passing away, and she is certain she's not going to live a week, even though she's pretty healthy, but she wants to see me a final time. And Saturday is the day I've already promised. So I can't do anything with the music fest.
Okay, so the music fest is off until somebody else steps up. And, as we start the fall season, it's pretty clear to me that we need to, bring in some more volunteers and give them good jobs. And I think that's about to happen. So, it's people get tired of a job. They put them down, they pick them up. Anyway, I think at the moment, I would say the music fest is not going to happen unless somebody else steps up with a contrary bit of information. 50 on screen this morning so far. How about Nittany Valley? You guys back in the saddle yet?
Yep, we're back in the saddle. We had our first meeting last night, and it was very successful. The theme of the meeting was show us what you turned last summer. And we had a lot of participation. It worked out. It went the full 2 hours. You don't think that people would talk, but once they get talking about their stuff, ask a few questions, it keeps going. So we had a lot of fun, and we don't have anything for next month yet, but the program committee is going to meet this month, and we're going to get it all squared away for the rest of the year.
And Lancaster meeting on Tuesday was Trent Bosch, an IRD showing hollowing. I was not able to attend. If somebody on here did attend, how did that go? What did we learn? Anybody want to talk to it?
A great professional meeting. His demonstration lasted a full 2 hours, and he just did a super job.
What was the technique he was using to hollow?
Freehand.
With what kind
handheld, no specific unit to work with, just using his hand tools and curve tools.
Did you learn anything you didn't know before?
I learned that I'd forgotten an awful lot.
I learned that I hope I remember it. It's the same kind of thing. And there were some things that were like, hey, that's true. Let's just remember that when I'm in the lathe. And I go, oh, I won't remember it. So,
Well, fortunately, there's going to be a video. There always is. It might not be out for a little bit because somebody's got to go through and clean it up, but it'll get posted. I don't do that part of the video anymore, haha. But it does happen. So if you forgot what the demo was about, you can always go and find the video on the club website. Other local clubs.
Well, John,
Sorry, John.
It
I was just
was,
going to say, John.
No.
Go ahead, Barry.
it was recorded by Trent Bosch. It was on his URL or his Zoom link, and he will post it to trentbosch.com.
All right.
And you can view, I guess, other videos there too, but you can view the video that your club signed up for.
There's quite a bit of videos there, and he sells some pretty nice gear as well.
I
he
thought
did
that
not-
would have. Go ahead.
I was gonna say he did not use any of his fancy stuff. He did demonstrate not actually cutting with, but how his visualizer, with the monitor and so on, how that worked. And I think it wowed a number of people, but I don't know that he made any sales. But all of his tools are Trent Bosch versions of like a John Jordan hollowing set, the 20-inch shaft with long handle and such, and a 3/16 machinist high-speed steel bit. It was all very straightforward hollowing stuff.
I thought one of the things he did very well is make it accessible to anybody who hasn't hollowed before. You don't have to have all that fancy jigs and everything to do it. So just the technique he demonstrated was just, hey, anybody new beginner, if you've never hollowed anything before, go for it. So it was a reminder for some of us. But the important part for me was that whole business of the curved tool. He didn't mention how much time, if you don't get the right tools, you can get a very sore arm from the tool twisting on you. So.
Other local clubs.
Yeah, I'll chime in. Del Val Turners, we start on Tuesday next week for our first meeting. We had an executive council meeting last night, and everybody heads in back to our classroom we use on Tuesday.
And what are you going to do there? What is a demo, show and tell? What's the meeting? You muted yourself, Dave, or somebody did.
Nope.
Tuesday will be a show of your summer accomplishments, what you did during the summer.
All right.
Thanks.
How about
John, go ahead.
Go ahead, Bowman, then.
I had a quick question for Mike. I keep forgetting that these four guys, and I forget what you call yourself, do a video a month or something, or a topic. I'd like to know how to know that on a regular basis so I don't forget it. What are you guys called, Mike?
We call ourselves a four ways collaboration group. We release the video at 4 p.m. on the first of the month, Eastern time.
First at 4 p.m.
Yep.
Okay.
Eastern time.
And how many are you up to now? How many months have you been doing that?
We're up to 31, so we just passed the 2.5-year mark.
And you're still going strong with new ideas every time.
Yeah.
You still haven't.
And there's no regular, you don't have a mailing or anything that reminds guys that, hey, we're going to post another one.
No.
No, it's
Okay.
on you, Bowman. Put it on your calendar. Let your
Yeah.
What you should be doing is going into Mike Peace's web videos every week or so and just checking out to see what he does, because they're such good videos. And he'll have a
Yeah.
link.
I go there every time I need to know something, and it's been a little while, so yeah.
Well, if you just go into each of their sites and subscribe to it and click the notification, then every time they post something, it pops up. So if you go to the 4-ways, there's 4 of them. You just subscribe to all 4, and then as soon as they post it, you'll get them right away.
We're managing their marketing. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you can also subscribe to my channel, John Kelsey Artisan. I just went over 1,000 after 5 years of just not doing anything to promote except talk here. Well, now I got 1,000 subscribers. Woohoo! I don't know what happens then. YouTube has not come along and rolled out any kind of red carpet or anything. I think I have to do something next, but I haven't got around to it.
You have to have a giveaway.
Now you have to apply for monetization, become a, what they call a YouTube partner. I think the requirement is 500 subscribers and 3,000 views within the past 12 months.
Well, I got all of that, but then what's your obligation once you've done that?
There's no obligation. You enroll, and then you can start getting some revenue from the advertising. You don't have to do anything other than enroll.
Not having to do anything appeals to me a lot. So I think I might just try that. Before we go to the hands, I know that Mike Brazeau has a show he wants to give us. I was interested in the conversation that was going on before. I had my mic and camera off, but it was pretty interesting about McNaughton systems and parting tools and trying to part your way on somebody who was in that conversation. Bring it back to us for all of us now that we're all here. We got 53 here now.
I think Sherry was the one that started it.
Okay, Sherry, what's the story? What are you looking to do?
No, I just chimed in. They were talking about different ways of cutting a bowl from a board, and the different tools and techniques that are out there, and what was initially created manufactured was something called the Ringmaster, which I think works very well for certain purposes, but the maximum thickness of wood that you can cut with a Ringmaster is around 1 inch. And then the conversation morphed into people basically creating their own version of the Ringmasters because they're no longer commercially available, and using some machinist tips and the one-way drill wizard, I think it's called, customizing that to fit. So yeah, I was gleaning more information than I was giving. So
now we're looking to make a ring or a ring with sloped walls?
A ring with sloped walls.
So that we can make a succession of rings and glue them together into a bowl.
The particular aspect I was interested in is just what are people doing to cut rings with slanted walls from a piece of wood that's about 4 inches thick. So there's where the real challenge comes in, because the torque that as you cut in deeper, it just you get a lot of adventure.
Well, why do you want to do this?
I was going to say, Sherry's not actually mentioning the key point of her conversation. She wanted to go as thin as possible on that ring, on that cut as well. So she was looking at something like a very thin cut.
But why are we trying to do this? What are you trying to accomplish?
I had a dozen bowl blanks that were about, say, 14 inches in diameter and 6 inches thick. And so I didn't want to leave 90% of the wood in shavings on the floor. So, like if I made a bowl just out of those, then 90% of the content ends up in shavings on the floor. And so I think I showed some time ago the bowl that I made that started out a big blank like that, but it ended up being like really big because I was able to use that technique. However, it was, let's just say, rather challenging. So yeah, just when the conversation came up about cutting rings, I just interested in what other people are doing, how are they doing it, what tools are they using, how thick can they go.
Okay, so now what did we learn? What did,
John, can I jump in?
yes,
I posted in the chat the paper that Ted Robinson had put together. It was 2008. And what he wanted to accomplish with the bowl with the board was changing the angle as the layers migrated to the top of the bowl.
so you
Because
don't
the
get
Ringmaster basically
so you
is
get
a
a shape
fixed.
rather than just
Exactly. And what he accomplished, it worked perfectly well. You would know the fellow that did the fancy bowl from a board from upstate New York, Mike somebody. He's passed on, but
my memory's gone.
yeah, anyway. Ted, I pointed Ted to that, and he made some spectacular bowls.
So what is the tool that anybody thinks works in that situation? I heard some people talking about the McNaughton tool, and I've seen Angelo go in there with a regular parting tool, and I've done a bit of that as well. Anybody else? What kind of tools were you guys recommending?
Well,
I was
I have,
recommending,
yeah.
go ahead, Mike.
Go ahead, Bert.
I was going to say, I use the McNaughton system, and I learned that from Richard Raffan. He uses something similar. He calls it a slicer. He doesn't use the curved ones, but he would just take a straight piece of steel with a sharp end on it, and he's been using that for years. But it's big enough and strong enough to cut in fairly deep. So you always have a kerf that's about 1/4 of an inch wide because you need that mass for the cutter. And it's just a straight bar with a great big long handle, and that's what he used. But I like the McNaughton system because it actually contains the torque of the turning. That I don't have to hold the handle that hard. So that would be you lose a little bit on the kerf. That's all. You can't get really thin. You need about 1/4 inch kerf. That's my input.
And then you're trying to avoid that 1/4 inch kerf, Sherry. You're trying to have less of a kerf than that.
That's right. Yes.
Anybody else on this? There was quite a bit of yammer about it going on before we started.
So that whole process is called trepanning. trepanning. And the problem is, I started it because I watched Mike's video on his Four Ways project, and he was kind of wrestling with his board using a parting tool, I think, Mike. And the problem is you're putting a rectangular tool into a curved space. And if the tool is too wide, inevitably you're going to have friction top and bottom. So if you're cutting on a center line, then the bottom is going to trail, but it's going to be rubbing against the outside big time. So there's been a variety of solutions, and Ringmaster was one of them. And of course, that comes out of the machining world. And a Ringmaster, as Sherry said, no longer made. It uses a very fine high-speed cutter that's a 1/16 of an inch wide, and that's ground from a 3/16 square stock high-speed steel blank. And it cuts in halfway from one direction and it's wound in with a screw, and then you can wind it back and cut in the other half from the other direction. And there's a feature to set the angle. The problem
is there any relieving of the corners on that thing to solve the problem you're talking about of the square peg and the round curve?
With the very fine blade, or the very narrow and short blade that's used in that, it becomes a non-issue in wood. It is an issue in steel, so what they have is curved cutters. At any rate, the problem with Ringmaster, and I picked one up recently used and fit it to my lathe just for fun. The problem is they give you a set of angles to set the device at, and that's fine, but you get a plant pot more often than not. So you can combine rings from different boards and make different shapes and all that. So recently I've noticed, Ron Brown, Ron Brown's, he's a well-known woodturner. He started marketing a thin parting tool blade, which you can pick up on Amazon. And it's for parting. It's very slightly tapered top to bottom. And you can mount it in a piece of a 1/2 inch pipe, or of course he sells what you can do. And another fellow called, he goes by the Papa 47, I think, on YouTube. He made his own handle out of that. So there's also the second part of that is a jig to hold that blade vertical. So Ron Brown markets one that's got 45, 50, 55, 60 degree slots, and you stick it in your tool rest, and you can run it in at those different angles to get different width boards, and you do whatever you want that way. But another fellow, I think it might be the Papa, I can't remember, just has a sort of a teardrop shaped piece of aluminum or steel with a slot cut into it, put in his tool holder, and he can adjust that to whatever angle he wants as well. And the whole idea is just to hold that cutting blade steady. The cutting blade used is a 1/2 inch tall, 4.5 inches long, and 3 32 inches wide at the very top, but it tapers to more like a 1/16 of an inch at the bottom. And you can pick them up on Amazon.
So I'm not a bowl from a board kind of guy, but I thought the classic way that is done is on a bandsaw with a tilted table, which strikes me as maybe the easiest way to do this.
And then glue up the kerf. You're going to have a narrow bandsaw kerf there, and as you go from ring to ring, that's what I was just about to say too, Bruce. That it seems to me that that's the way to do it, is bandsaw it.
Don, if I have a PDF up on my other screen and will it share?
I don't know. Try it.
Okay, I'm gonna just try it.
It will if you can see it.
I can. Let's see. Can you guys see that?
Not yet, but yes.
Yes.
Okay. So you can see I had a great big piece of redwood burl. It was about 5 inches thick. I mounted it on the lathe, and then I drew little circles on it where I wanted those concentric rings. And then I parted those rings and then reverse stacked them. My cut wasn't as quite as even as I had hoped, and it was getting thinner than I wanted it. So I added a segmented ring in the middle as a pattern, and also to compensate for that angle starting to get a little thin. Mounted the whole mess on the lathe, and then ended up with a bowl that was like massive.
Now, have you got some kind of tail support for that bowl, or is it just simply hanging off a faceplate?
Right there, when I turned it, you can see in this, I don't know, can you see the little hand waving there? Had used the tailstock support, but put just a disc on the end of the tailstock to kind of make like a bit of a jam chuck, just because it wouldn't have been safe to have the whole thing hanging off there. But anyway, so that's why I was doing it. It was really, I didn't want to waste all that good wood in that big blank, and that was the only thing I could think of to really maximize the usefulness of it.
And you
Sherry, Dave
Yes?
Hudnall, can I ask a question? Why do this technique versus coring out bowl blanks out of that big piece?
Two things. I didn't have a coring system at the time, and secondly, from what I've understood, like the wood was very dry, and often those coring systems are exponentially more difficult when the wood is not wet.
That's right. But if you squirt water into the groove as you go, it works to help that problem.
So yeah, mostly lack of knowledge.
Okay, like the rest of us. Anybody else on this? I think Bruce, I think I'm going to bandsaw that and just glue the kerf up, and I'll bet you'll never find it.
Hey, David, I wonder if you would set up your coring system so that it's not angled so that it's intended to go around and make a bowl, but you can make a bunch of cuts in like Sherry wants, and then just bandsaw off the end or turn it off, and then you have your rings like Sherry is using. Would that work? I'd have to go see. Maybe there's too much of a curve in most of these coring systems that would not work. But you know, it's like if you core and you don't get it right, you end up with the bottom out. Your funnel won't just stack the funnels up. So
Yeah, I think as you initially start the coring, the angle isn't as steep, so it is more straight. But as you go in, it curves further,
yeah,
I think. I don't know. I've never tried it with that technique.
And you can also get the, rather than just that sort of a funnel shape with, you know, the straight sides, you can accomplish getting a round bottom by making your base and your second ring twice as well, the second ring twice as thick as the other rings, right? Because now it gives you a little latitude so that you can go round rather than just that straight funnel shape. But anyways, yeah, just
Well, part of what's interesting to me about this is this idea that we are wasting the wood when we turn it into chips. It's like I remember when I was more dealing with flat woodworking, people would go to great lengths to use all the wood. And I wind up with some things that were rather badly proportioned often because they were trying to use all the wood. And there's why? We got lots of wood.
well, I guess in this case, for me, it was a piece of a redwood burl that came from an old giant redwood tree, and I just, yeah,
Now you're talking.
I couldn't do it.
That's the okay. Now that's a good reason. But when I'm looking at my blanks of cherry and maple and pear, you know, I don't. It doesn't matter. There's always another blank from the same tree if I want it. John,
it also gives you an opportunity to use some special wood. I know I have a piece of quilted maple I bought 20 years ago at the Woodstock Wood Show, and I always wanted to make a ring bowl, and I may actually get around to it after this discussion. It was.
I think that piece of wood has served you rather well. You've had a talisman in your shop for 20 years with a future intention. Gives you a reason to keep on living there, Mike.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think Sherry's point is a good one. If it was just plain cherry, I wouldn't be bothered about it. But sometimes I've got a few special pieces in my garage that I don't want to, you know, I really want to maximize the use of them, like some of the burls and stuff like that. Which is so I try and practice on the less useful pieces and find other techniques. So you practice up a few times and then on cherry, and then you run your nice piece on it.
What I'm inclined to do when I have that rather special piece instead is to make a whole lot of little things out of it.
Well, one of the things you could consider, Sherry, is take a page out of Duxbury's book and draw it on paper first, and then find out what angles would give you the best amount of wall thickness for the different parts that you want to use. And each piece of wood's going to be a different thickness. So you could, if you draw it on paper to scale, then you can find out what angle you would run your cutter in. You might find that you could lose that 1/4 inch of kerf without too much pain and still have you know, a lot more comfort in cutting it, slicing it. But then you'll know that the angles match up. So I do a lot of things now just based on what Duxbury said, is if you draw it on paper, it doesn't even have to be accurate. You just get a better mental image of what you're trying to do. Then when you actually go do it, it's funny, it works.
I couldn't agree more. My drawing skills have to improve as well.
The other thing you could do is highlight that crack and you know, consider like a staved bowl where you may put maple in as staves around that, and it could be really a nice design anyway.
Good idea.
Nice thing about the Ringmaster and that concept is it's so fast. I could make a ball in 10 minutes with two different boards if the boards are already cut round. It's just so fast. So if you can find an efficient way of trepanning through wood, rather than spending, you know, there's lots of people can hollow out a bowl in 10 minutes and have a green garbage bag full of chips, but that the lack of wood waste with that concept of trepanning is, I just find that quite interesting.
I find it interesting that the term you're using for this is trepanning, and I know that that's what metalworkers use, but archaeologists use trepanning to describe what the fossil Neanderthal fossils they find with holes drilled in their skulls. That's also trepanning. So we're not talking about drilling holes in our skulls, are we?
No, but we are saying woodworking is older than metalworking, John.
Well, that's for sure. Okay, let's move along. That's a good topic. Thank you for the conversation. Very interesting to me too. I'm going to try some of those things, but I'm going to be clever with my bandsaw, I think. Maybe not. Mike, you wrote me this morning and you said you had some stuff you would like to show.
Yeah,
Gonna
yeah.
give
I
you
just
one.
I've been playing around ever since early in the COVID days and generating video on the lathe, and so I've been working on this cherry bowl
Nice.
over the last 2 or 3 weeks,
Yeah.
slowly. And so I shot some video clips, and I just wanted to integrate a couple of them into some further. I just took some pictures of it yesterday, actually, and I'll so this is the
You ain't quite there yet. There we go. Got it.
you got it?
Yeah.
I don't see how I can make it go full screen here. I can't
Oh,
see the
I
full
think I
screen.
can do that at least as far as the recording goes.
Anyway, this is the birth of the bowl. This was in 2013, and a neighbor who lives a couple of kilometers away had emailed me that he had a couple of cherry trees taken down, and unfortunately the wood had already been cut by the tree surgeons, so it I couldn't get the full extent out of it. So the bowl is 11.5 inches, but
Oh wait, what would you rather they had done?
well, I normally would cut that, say, let's say this, I think Tom told me the wood was somewhere around 12 inches. So I would probably cut it 15, 16 inches in case you get some cracking on the ends, etc. So I had to work pretty quickly. I did have a couple of shots of, I cored out probably, I don't know, 8 or 10 bowls in the next few days from this. This I just loaded up in my van, and as you can see some on the cart going into the shop there. Just chainsaw it into an octagon, and away you go. I don't have to worry about balance on the 2436. But this is for a niece that's getting married weekend after this up in the Huntsville area. And there were supposed to be no presents, but it's sort of become my custom now for all of our nieces and nephews and nieces' kids to make a bowl, as long as I can keep doing it.
So go back to the bowl now. I'm just looking
Yeah,
at.
so here we are with the bowl, and this is one I showed you 2 years ago, which was almost the same. So we've got an undercut rim. It doesn't show up too much, a little bit of a lift here. I have to say that, and including this beading or texturing and beads, and I'm going to highlight some stuff with the point tool. And I just want to relate a little bit of history of my engagement with the point tool. I go back to rec.crafts.woodturning, the news group, before we had forums where we could post pictures. And there was all this mention of a point tool. And then in 2007, there was an article in the American Woodturner on making a point tool. And I made my first one using a shock absorber. And then I've gone from there and made a couple. I'll show that a little bit later in the. So this, I just want to zoom in. This is the Sorby texturing tool. And I have to say that I've learned a lot of this from one of our members, Eugene Schlack, who's now retired from turning, but I borrowed a lot of Eugene's ideas through the years. And this is like a 15-minute or 15-second exercise to produce that band. And then the beads with the point tool maybe take another 5 minutes in total by the time you touch them up. So it really, I think, adds a lot to a decorative bowl. I've lost my, I think I have to get rid of my zoom, and then I can use my arrows. I practiced this yesterday. So
wedding bands.
Pardon me?
I said they're almost like two wedding bands. It looks great.
Yeah, I never thought of it in that way. That's true. Yeah.
What's your finish
Okay.
like?
The finish was I started with Watco Danish oil and let it dry for about 4 days. So it's summertime, humidity, 65% or so in the shop. And then I did 2 coats of Osmo Polyex, and it took a day for each coat. So I did the interior, 1 coat, let it dry a day, did another coat, let it dry a day, then flipped the bowl over and did the bottom. And I haven't buffed it. I don't need to. That's only the second time I've used it. But I cut up a little piece of the white synthetic steel wool, whatever their application thing. And with that rubbing, you really end up with a perfect finish. You don't have to buff it.
Now, you find it goes fine over antique oil.
Perfect. And there's a really good thread on the American Woodturner or on the American AAW forum in April on Osmo. And virtually everything you need to know and experience from 3 or 4 turners. And people have used it over linseed oil, they've used it over shellac, all kinds of things. It doesn't absorb. And I was rubbing it off after, I would say, 8 minutes or so. It really wasn't drying. And I said that to my wife, it's amazing when you first rub it off, it looks kind of dull. And then you come back and look at the bowl 12 hours later and it's brilliant. And that's really only a few molecules thick. It's really thin. I used in total probably, I don't know, 2-3 teaspoons maximum to do this bowl.
What was the product again?
Osmo Polyex, Polyx, and it was the gloss version. I bought the 125 mil can, the sample can, which cost me $30 at the wood show in November. Then I went out and bought the bag at Lee Valley and had to buy a funnel even to fill the bag. So I got $40 in this 125 mils of finish. But as one of the fellows said, he's done like 20 bowls with that small can.
And
so the cost per bowl is not that much.
I'm using the can the way Duxbury suggests. I punch a hole right near the rim and put a hex head screw in it.
I contemplated that, and actually, this was in an earlier. You were away, I think, or out in June, and I had another little bowl, and I'd read so much about the bag, I decided to go and get it, and it works well. There's no air gets back into the bag when you dispense it. This is going to last me till we move out of here.
I use the bags for water locks. I've had water locks for years in the bags. Otherwise, water locks flashes off in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. I have a can of General Bowl finish, which I just store it upside down, and that is 7 years old and still good.
I'm with Duxbury. The screw in the
I thought of that. But with the little can, it's I didn't feel it lent itself to getting it out as easily. I don't know. You get a drop or 2 at a time when you do that.
I squeeze the can a little bit.
Oh yeah. Anyway, I'm happy I made the investment. It was $10 at Lee Valley, and it's an amazing finish. I'm just totally.
I've got a question for you on that. Why would you put anything underneath Osmo? Why wouldn't you put Osmo directly on the wood?
Well, that's the next one, Bert. I really like to pop the grain. And my favorite on cherry is boiled linseed oil. And but I've done it with the Watco, and I like the deep color right off the bat. With boiled linseed oil, it'll darken up to the I forget the name. It used to be a furniture company in Napanee that made only cherry furniture, and you get that color in the end.
Okay, Osmo does have. I use acacia on anything I want to look, especially on oak, specifically for that reason, because the Osmo acacia makes the oak grain pop like you've never seen before.
Is that right?
And it's Osmo.
Yeah.
And you put it on the same really, really thin, And then
Yeah.
after that, I put top oil on. So I'll use one coat of acacia, and then I put top oil over top
Yeah.
of it. And just
Anyway,
straight
I'm happy
osmo.
with it. It just, I like the fact that I'm not gonna have to buff it. You know?
I like the feel of the Osmo. That's what I.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The
Yeah, I love the
surfaces.
Osmo. Yeah.
I sanded to 400 and I 4-0 steel wooled after the Danish oil, and I did steel wool on the exterior after the first coat of Osmo, just very lightly, very, very lightly.
Next
And
slide.
then blew it off or vacuumed it and tack clothed it off.
Next slide.
So here's just a close-up of the secret with the texturing tool is not, so I'm turning this at about 1,000 RPM, I think it was. I have a tack on my one way that I made. You can see the individual impressions, because if anybody's not familiar with it, think of the back sprocket, a small back sprocket on a bicycle with sharpened teeth. That's basically what it is. And so each one of those little indents is, I don't know, perhaps a millimeter. But you don't want to leave it on too long. And you'll see, I have a little video clip that shows that the beads actually don't look that great in here, but they look better in real. I don't know what that's about. So here, just I wanted to show the contrast between light wood and dark wood. I love it on dark wood. I have a walnut piece that ended up going to an AAW exhibit in St. Paul that I took to the Instant Gallery at Totally Turning, where I had kind of a stepped exterior. And on walnut, it's spectacular. It really is. This is the underside. And years ago, again, going back to Rec.Crafts, there was a fellow, and I saw him pop up once on Facebook, and I didn't write down his name, and he said, you turn a bowl over and it should have a surprise. And I forget his name. Again, I used the ring tool or the point tool and create a couple of beads on the back with the vacuum chuck on, and that again, it takes just a few minutes. And
You say the point tool, you're talking about the three-faceted point tool?
Yes, I've got a close up of it, John, in the video clips.
Good.
So there's a close up of and here my burning tool is just a bent wire. I have a homemade power supply that I built I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years ago from Fish Carver's website, which he pulled because it didn't work. I had to modify the design, but I learned, I forget her name, oh my gosh, she and her husband split, Michael, and I hate my brain now.
Yeah.
Anyway, temperature is just enough to make the impression, and you're constantly pulling the point to you. The odd time you've got to go the other direction, but it enables you. I've just developed a script. You only get one shot. You can't play with it.
Yeah, I lack that skill.
There's my photo studio yesterday.
Perfect.
There was a cloud that came by, and it was a little bright, but it worked. So I'm just shooting this with my iPhone, and I got a gizmo that converts an HDMI output to an RCA. So I've got a little monitor. I can now at least easier judge what my shoot is. And I could have spent more time, but if you look at that, you'll see I'm not covering the whole area. I'm going in steps. That's how long it takes.
Yeah, nothing to that.
So you mark I didn't video I marked where the beads are going to be with a pencil before I start. And it's pretty easy.
You don't make the beads first, you make the track first.
Yes. They're not, that's just pencil marks. Yeah. Here's the point tool. This one is a 5/16 inch drill rod. And those things, it's about 45 degrees. the article in 2007 spent a lot of time on sharpening, and it's the easiest tool aside from a spindle roughing gouge and a parting tool to sharpen.
Are we supposed to be seeing some action here? No.
No, that was just to show the tool. So
Okay.
here's an action. I just showing one side.
I would do that with a skew flat on its edge.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a scraper.
Yeah.
I put a fresh edge on it before every time I use it.
Yeah, I would just flatten, lay the skew on the tool rest and
Yeah.
get it so it was symmetrically the angle was in the right way I wanted it, and
Yeah.
little
This is the only thing I use it for.
Hey, John, I use one of those too, but I've sharpened mine to a much sharper point, maybe like 20 or 30 degrees. I don't remember, but it
Yeah.
allows you to really reach in there well if you wanted to. And I found a skew didn't do as well for that.
Yeah, I was given a commercial version by a fellow I helped clean out his workshop years ago, and it was ground like that. It was about a centimeter in diameter, and I would say probably 30, 35 degrees. But personally, this is what I have. It's worked for me, and so I keep doing it.
Good.
Hey, I would just grab a D-way beating tool. I'm sorry.
Get back to Zoom here.
Yeah, I think the difference in the point tool is it allows you to roll it over and do a bead, not just make the V groove. That's the real strength of it. And as Rich was saying, if you make it sharper, it'll make a deeper groove, but it reduces the ability for you to roll a bead and keep the point out of it. Bike is probably ground closer to 30 degrees than 45.
No, I measured it yesterday, and it's 45.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Roughly. My protractor doesn't allow me to. I had to lay it alongside, but yeah, it's pretty close to 45.
Kind of blunt looking. It's not
It is
intuitive.
blunt.
It's
Yeah.
not intuitive. You'd think you should grind it sharper, but no, you got to ground just right to be able to roll that bead.
Yeah.
Well, I find the beading tool that Bowman's talking about, it cuts too deep. The points, the wings of it go in deeper than I want them to.
I find that it also screws up pretty quick too. Meaning that if you don't hold it just right, and depends on how the grain is, you may chip out and then you're screwed. So
One of the things you're talking about with that point tool is that it's a round bar, so it's really easy to roll and get a nice uniform roll on that when you're running it. So you don't have to twist. All you have to do is roll it along the tool rest as opposed to twisting your arms and trying to get that even position.
All right. You got me inspired. I'm going to make one today. Questions for Mike? Any more questions or comments?
Hey, Mike, which edition of the AAW magazine was that in? Do you remember?
It's in 2007. I don't know I want to say in the spring. In those days there were only 4, I think. So
You can
probably in the spring.
You can do a search for that on the website anyway.
I might even be able to put the article up here if I look for it.
I've got a couple of videos out on making and using the point tool as well.
I'll look for those too. And I want to hear from Gerry Snelson before we're done here. So we got a few minutes, another 10 minutes. Gerry?
I'm going to try to bring the level of conversation down.
I'll be surprised if you do that.
I'll be surprised if I make share screen work. Let's see.
Okay. I thought so. You got it on Facebook. Show hold it up. Hold it a little closer to your face. Yeah. All right.
It's better in the picture because of the light. But this was kind of a rescue thing for me because I have not been on the lathe since June. Had a couple of eye operations, cataract and ptosis in both eyes, and I had to go to a specialist who sent me to a more specialized specialist because of the bone structure of my fat head. And then arthritis stepped in a big way, and physical therapy and so on. Hadn't been to the lathe, but Gerald gave me a chunk of cherry with the bark still on, which is on the floor in my shop now. It climbed down off the lathe and put both hands behind its back and jumped onto the floor, and it's still there. But that's the cherry in here. The other is walnut, and this was added on later, and I suspect it's because in the morning on Thursday, Bert and I are usually the first ones here, and he makes a lot of burial urns, and I think it rubbed off on me, and so for a very small animal, I guess this would make a suitable burial urn. This jade thing is just iridescent paint. You paint a black circle, and then I went sort of up and down around with gold, and as that was drying, with a brush I put on some turquoise, and then just took a piece of paper towel, wadded it up, and dab, 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 dab all around while it's still on a lathe. And the trick is knowing when to stop, because it'll just turn to a streak of mush. And this way, the gold shows through, but not everywhere. You can almost see that it's going up and down there. And then I added the top and the bottom, and it is a lidded box, and it's hollowed out to about 3/16 of an inch thick, except
hold it so we can see the inside of it. Turn it
I
around.
don't,
Yeah,
there,
that's
if you'll
okay.
be able to,
Bring it
the
near
light,
your face. Yeah, you're there. Okay, you were there.
there, you can see in.
Yeah.
You can see the nub in the bottom I couldn't get because I couldn't see in there, and so it stayed, but it's nice and shiny. And let's see, there was something in my screen that kept me from seeing it, but there it is. Nothing fancy anywhere.
Nice piece.
And it got me back on the lathe, which was wonderful. And now I'm looking into automata, and I've ordered about 12 books and 3,000 dowels and so on, and I might attempt that.
What did you say
using
you're going to do?
Automata. Automaton.
Automata, yeah, all right, yeah.
Yeah, sort of halfway between wood turning and puppetry, It should be a good fit.
That ought to fit right in with your cigar box tableaus, your little sets of figures and smokers and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the smokers. Uh-huh. Yeah. That's me, and thank you for your time.
Hey, what finish do you use, Gerry? What
finish? Yeah, I'm a big Yorkshire grit man, so I sand it up to 320 or 400, and then Yorkshire grit, and then wipe that off with a methylated spirits, and I use rattle can deft semi-gloss, and then more Yorkshire grit. And the problem, one day I was telling people I got a half hour's work done. It took me 2 hours to do it because I'm unable to resist a wet surface, and I am compelled to stick my finger on it. Or a piece of paper towel. And of course, it grabs the paper towel and it's in there for perpetuity. But if, as I did finally, just let it cure for a day, and then come back and Yorkshire grit and buff it with the paper towel, it comes up to a nice, somewhere between semi-gloss. It was a semi-gloss spray they use, somewhere between that and a high gloss.
Do you find that finish water spots?
I don't know. I've never gotten water on these. I just spilled my tea a minute ago all over the floor, but it didn't hit the urn. box.
I've noticed a bunch of the little things I have around the house here that my wife uses for earrings and things that are sitting in her vanity are all water spotted, and I'm pretty sure that they're from the era when I was using lacquer.
That sounds right. I mean, lacquer does spot. There's no question about it. It's not a water finish, not waterproof finish.
Comments and questions for Gerry?
Isn't lacquer what they put on some furniture used to get the rings when you set a glass on? Was that not lacquer type finish? So
yeah, it's used on guitars too.
Oh, okay.
You
I
like
like
It
your,
just,
I
it just
like
buffs up so
your paint.
nicely.
I like your
Yeah.
paint finish on there. That's intriguing. I'm gonna have to put that in my to-do list. I gotta try that.
And when you say you put gold on there, did you mean gold leaf or gold paint?
No, just the gold iridescent paint.
Okay, not
Yeah.
gold leaf buff with. 'cause
No, the
it would
gold
seem that would
iridescent
work
paint
better.
with I used to use a stick and then blow it around with the air compressor and airbrush. And but I found it's just better if you're going to do this technique to use a brush. It's faster, and you don't want to cover the whole thing with either color. But the dabbing will do it, and you can get that nice definition of the lines here just by holding a paper towel up to it while it's still wet, and it just cuts in. You know, I used to do that cut with a parting tool, and that got rid of the finish. But with this technique, just the paper towel held maybe with your fingernail against it there and up there, and the black from underneath, which is well dry, then shows. So that's how you get the dimensions.
Pretty
If
nice.
y'all want to see that in its real glory, go to Jerry's Facebook page. He has it photographed very nicely, and it's there.
Yeah, I
Search
thought-
for him on Facebook. So
Yeah, well, thank you. And I accept anybody who wants to be a friend on Facebook, and John was gracious enough to accept my request. I've only made 3 of those in my lifetime, and he accepted. So thank you, John Kelsey. The other guys have invited me, and I can handle that.
Hey, Gerry, I have a question for you. You said your lacquer finish water spotted, but I know you had a lot of experience in painting custom vans, and I'm sure you used lacquer back in the day. And
Yeah.
the automotive lacquer doesn't water spot. What's the difference between the two?
I don't know. We covered it on the vans with this clear finish that they use on the great big trucks that will kill you after a while. And suddenly the name was in my brain a minute ago and it's gone now. Imron. We covered it with Imron, which I think is a polyacrylic, and very hard, and that wouldn't spot. So it never got an opportunity to spot.
it's like a clear coat, right, Jerry? What they
Oh, it
call
was a clear coat, and you don't want to use it in your shop. I mean, it's extremely powerful, and I had to fire a painter, which I didn't like to do, but he was a bit of a druggie, and he would not wear a mask or respirator, no matter how many times I told him he had to wear a respirator. So I had to fire him, which was a day, it's an uncomfortable day, but you don't want to get hooked on something like that. It's awful stuff. But it makes a hard finish. And I did it, I had it sprayed on my Corvette, and water just beat it up forever, and it didn't hold dirt. I mean, it's marvelous stuff, but I wouldn't think about using it in my shop for wood turning.
Too much.
Jerry, was this your life before you became a professor? I'm learning something.
I had lots of careers before I became a professor. Yeah, I was a commissioned salesman in furniture, for one thing. I ran the van conversion company for another, and I taught middle school in Baltimore City. not county, and I did everything but watch football. So that's my life.
Mike Peace,
Not even for Don, not even football.
Well, if we've got time, Mike Brazeau mentioned Eugene Slack, and I just wanted to pay homage to him. I don't know if you can see this picture.
Wowie.
He is a master at texturing, and he inspired me many years ago. And one of his projects I picked up on the internet early on, like when I first started turning, making angel ornaments. And I remember this is back before YouTube, and I sent him an email telling him how much I enjoyed that project. I'd stumbled on the internet, and he wrote back, it's like, "You live where? And how did you see this?" And he gave me permission to use his picture in my videos, because this is such a great example of the varying texturing you can get on the rim of a bowl.
Who was this guy? Who was this guy?
Eugene Slack.
Yeah, Eugene is 87 years old. We touch bases, so every 2-3 months I give him a call, and he lives in Niagara Falls.
Well, tell him I paid him homage on our Lancaster coffee.
Yeah, no, I have that picture in my resource file too, Mike.
Yeah, it's a great picture.
Yeah, that was from Wow.
Yeah, that's all I've got.
All right, all y'all. See y'all next week. Big fun.
Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, John.
Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Be good.
Good.
Whoa.